It's your boy HifiVega, and today we're here to see if a $50 enclosure from Walmart is good, bad, or just plain ugly. So without further ado, let's just get straight to it. Before we open it up, let's check out the box and see what information it gives us. It does tell us 1.25 cubic foot internal volume. It does not say anywhere on here if this is a sealed or ported box. We know by looking at it and seeing these before that it is a sealed box. It also lets you know that it's pre-drilled and dado cut 5/8 inch MDF construction. So it is a little bit smaller than your standard enclosure. That may or may not matter depending on how big of a subwoofer you're putting there, or how beefy of a subwoofer you're putting there rather. It also says here, pre-installed industrial sealant. No gluing required. That's a nice feature if it works out. We're definitely going to test that. Pre-cut for subwoofer mounting. Pre-wired with fast-on terminals. So let's open the box, and I'll actually read the instructions, and we will build this enclosure exactly the way it wants us to build it. You do have a pretty comprehensive installation guide here. I'm going to follow this step by step. We'll put this together exactly how it tells us to put it together, and we'll see how this industrial grade adhesive works. The instructions are pretty straightforward here. We're going to pull the adhesive backing on these. We will connect one-to-one with the sides and then connect the front. Now there is dowel pins to hold it in place, and then once you've got it assembled, you've got some screws to get everything buttoned up.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain, I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day.
So one thing it did not mention in the instructions is clamping. I'm gonna go ahead and use these clamps to give it its best shot at actually holding itself together. It does say hold firmly, but if you got clamps, you might as well use them. Alright, before we go on to the next test, let's cover a few things. So I have a new subwoofer in here. This sub right here will work with this box sealed at 1.25, so that's going to help us out. We have the 5,000 watts, we'll be running at 4 ohms. Although this sub is only rated 300 watts RMS, so we're going to have to be a little gentle with it. Of course, I've got the AM/M1 set up here. It just turned off on me. We'll turn it back on. Everything else is hooked up and ready to go. On a side note, if you guys know what this sub is, leave it in the comments below. This sub will be getting its own video. The back side of this sub is something else. It is actually a pretty rare subwoofer, so I think that's going to be a fun video. But today we're just using it to test this box. Alright, before we try the next track, a few things to note. I did not notice any air leaks, and we were up to, I think, 108 decibel on that little meter, so not too bad. I mean, it's really standing up well on its own sticky tape construction. I guess, you know, maybe they did think this out. So we're going to go to the next track. We'll see if we can get it to leak. If you have a 1,000-watt subwoofer, don't put it in this box. It seems like it's going okay now, but if you put a 1,000-watt subwoofer in this box, you're gonna have a bad day.
Bro, I'm straight up not having a good time.
Let's get on to the next track. Alright, last but certainly not least, we're going to do the 40 hertz test. It'll probably be quite a bit less power, but we'll see what it does SPL wise. I expect that the impedance is going to be a lot higher at 40 hertz, but we'll see what it does. All right, I've got the Walmart enclosure loaded up and back. We're gonna put it through some songs, see how it does, and then we'll do a frequency sweep and see what kind of SPL it does. And I'll try to see if I can notice any air leaks, and then we'll get some close up of the subwoofer, and we'll see if I notice any air leaks then. Back with my final thoughts on the $50 Walmart enclosure. I have some pros, I have quite a few cons, so let's just get straight into it. The first pro is it's only $50 and it's easily accessible. You can pick these up at any Walmart near you. The second pro is it is easy to put together. The instructions are pretty straightforward. It only takes, maybe a screwdriver and you can put this thing together. Everything's pre-drilled. The third thing is the carpet looks okay. So it does not look like you literally folded this together origami style and made a subwoofer box. That's it with the pros. Now let's jump into the cons. The number one con with this enclosure is it is 1.25 cubic foot sealed. For modern subwoofers, that is way, 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 way too big for a sealed enclosure. You might find some here and there that are going to work with this amount of airspace, but not many. The second one is it's only 5/8 MDF. So it's undersized MDF. It's definitely not going to handle a lot of power, which I know you probably already know that. The number three thing wrong with it is that it's held together with sticky tape, double-sided sticky tape. I do not have confidence that if you put a lot of power on this, and by a lot, I don't mean a whole lot, I mean anything over 750 watts, that it will literally blow itself apart or start leaking air horribly. That being said, in my test at low-ish power, up to around 600 watts, I did not see any air leaking yet. That doesn't mean that it won't start leaking in the future. And this box is in completely stock shape. I haven't done anything to modify the box at all outside of putting some clamps when I screwed it together just to get a little bit tighter, and the screws technically should do that themselves. That's my list of the pros and cons of this $50 box. Should you buy this? I think there's a very small portion of people that would get an acceptable result out of this box. That would be someone that has a 12-inch subwoofer that can work in this amount of airspace. That would be someone that is using less than 500 watts to power that subwoofer. and someone that is not trying to get very loud in one of these boxes. For everybody else, absolutely not. I would not buy this box. I would spend another $75 and pick up the cheap CT Sound box, the cheap Scar box. There's quite a few of them out there. NVX makes some that are pretty solid. And if you want like a legit nice prefab box, Down4Sound makes a profab box that is really pretty nice. I will leave a link to those prefab enclosures in the description below if you want to check it out. What do you guys think about me porting this enclosure? I think that will be a more interesting video because we can put more power to it, and we can maybe blow it apart at that point. So if you think that's a good idea, let me know in the comments below. And if you're not already subscribed, I would love to have you as a subscriber. I do dumb stuff like this almost every single week. And if you enjoy this kind of dumb stuff, you're my kind of people. So hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, hit that like, share it with your friends. Now that the review's over, I hope to catch every single one of you in my next video. I'd like to thank all my Patreon supporters, but the 6-star or more members get a special shout out, and that is 2001 Monolithic, Gene Nava, Joaquin Juarez, El Fuego Audio, Travis McClendon, Brandon Hanna, William Berg, Boxboy Audio Sound Solutions, Jesus Tires, Dennis Cromwell Jr., Scott Dilbeck, D. Stewart, David Kozlik, Scott McCord, Matthew Tolberg, Cornut, Trucker 9000, Bobby Burkett, Kevin Lautner, James Childers, Baba, Thomas Marshall, Living Loud with Andy, Neil Nato, Chris Cogburn, Lars Madsen, and Old School Stereo. For as little as $2 a month, you can join the Patreon team and get exclusive Patreon-only content, including a monthly Patreon-only hangout stream. It's a really good time. You guys are missing out, and if you want to join, check me out at patreon.com/HifiVega.